Hey guys, Yulia here. So it's been a while, and the reason being is because our weather has been terrible in the last 2 weeks. It's been snowy and rainy and windy and just super cold, and I couldn't film outside at all. And I really need to get out there and start my garden cleanup. I need to cut my ornamental grasses and mulch the beds and cut the perennials, but I couldn't do this. So in the meantime, I've been entertaining myself with some plants that I can grow inside the house. And just in time, I had these Muscari latifolium that started to bloom. These are the ones that I forced last winter, and they are just so pretty right now. I do like the Muscari armeniacum as well, but as I mentioned before, their foliage just flops all over the place, and look how neat this foliage looks. And the color of the flower is also very interesting. It is darker blue with a sort of a gradation, and they are fragrant as well. Also, I have about 500 of them that I planted last fall outside, so I can't wait to see that display. But because these flowers are so woodlandsy looking, I wanted to display them in some sort of woodlandsy looking pots. So when I planted them in these pots, and I made these pots myself, I posted a picture on Instagram, and so many of you who follow me on Instagram wanted to know how I made these. So this video is about how I made these pots, so here we go. This is the prototype right here, and it's falling apart a little bit, which prototypes tend to do. You know, this is something that you try out, you see what works, what doesn't. So I have improved upon this. So I will slide it to the side. And this is the final product right here. So quickly before I will show you the process sort of step by step. This bark right here I found in local woods while hiking with my dog, and this is a birch bark, and birches do really poorly in our area except for the river birches that I have in my garden, but the white birches do really poorly because borer gets to them, and also it's sort of warm for them in our climate, so they fail at a young age. And I have been eyeing this white birch in the woods for quite a while, and I saw it failing, and it finally fell down about a year ago, and bark was all over the place. So I picked up some bark. And just a side note, make sure you check with your ordinances what material you can collect from the woods. Make sure you don't take anything you're not supposed to. But anyway, I collected this bark and I dried it, well, in my case for a year, but you don't have to dry it for so long. Just make sure that it's not super wet. And all I did is I glued it to a plastic pot. Anyway, let me just show you step by step how this is done. So for this project, you will need a plastic pot, and it is important that you have a hard plastic pot, because if you have a thinner plastic, it literally will melt in your hands as you are using the glue gun to glue the bark to it. So the thicker plastic, the better. You can use a pot of any size. You will need bark, and obviously birch bark is very beautiful, but you can also use other bark like this one I found in my wood pile as I was building a fire, and I think it's very pretty. You can use it like this, glue it like this, break it down in smaller pieces and glue it, of course. Scissors, some moss, it could be dried or preserved moss, and you will need a glue gun. All right, so the next step is fairly simple. You take a piece of bark and glue it on top of the pot. Be careful with your fingers. The glue gun is hot. Just hold it for a while. It takes a while to adhere. And then you could take another piece of bark. This is too big. I'll actually cut it a little bit here. So this is what you will have. You'll have all sorts of pieces of bark with some gaps in between, but we're going to fix that with moss. And you'll take just pieces of moss and use your glue gun and go in between all of those gaps and just use moss to disguise them, just like this. So here it is. Here is the little birch bark pot with moss, and I'm going to plant a little viola that I have here. I could not resist these little faces here. The other day in the garden center, they're just such little harbingers of spring. I always try to have some around this time of the year. Now these pots are great inside. I never had them outside, so I don't know if they will hold up to the elements. I mean, bark obviously does, but I don't know if the hot glue will. All right, so here is the little adorable faces of the violas, and I will add some more moss on top of here. And all done. All right, you guys, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little project and maybe learned something new, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.